Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Daily version of the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Scott. I'll be your host today. It is Friday, July 12th. We are approaching the last weekend before tapering for IRONMAN Lake Placid, the redemption race. We are 16 days away from IRONMAN Lake Placid. And I got to tell you, the nerves are really kicking in. Really kicking in. I went back on my old training peaks from last year, which is sort of what I kept my workouts on last year. And I was looking at some of the running I was doing and some of the bikes I was doing. And I'm like, man, this wasn't as bad as I thought. Like I wasn't as slow or wasn't as lagging behind. My weight was out of control. I was 240 pounds. I'm now like 221. So yeah, I've improved that. But, I think I saw a 5-mile run at like a 9:05 pace, which is pretty darn good for me. I think the other night I did a 4 1/4 at, 8:47. So it's a little, with the distance there difference, I don't know, it's a little faster, I guess, this year. It does help. Obviously, I lost that weight and I feel good about that. I don't know. I'm trying to see where I am versus last year, and it's not, I don't know. I'm feeling like maybe I'm not as improved. It's like this is what happens, right? You always start second guessing and, am I in good enough shape? Do I feel good? How am I versus last year versus 2 years ago when I was able to finish? And I kind of feel like 2 years ago I was in a lot better shape than I'm in now, but that now I'm in better shape than I was in last year. And I don't know. Well, we're going to see how it goes in 16 days, right? That's the whole thing. The one thing I'll say, and I think this whole concept, I guess, I feel like I've been making a lot of excuses lately. And sometimes excuses, I like to talk about my experiences on the podcast, and I like to talk about them in detail, like how I go through my day and how I try to fit things in. And some days things just implode and I never get it done. And some days I do more than expected. And some days I have a plan. Some days I don't have a plan. Lately, I've been kind of all over the place. And I feel like, one thing happened this morning that really, it made me kind of rethink a lot of things, which was I got up at 7, which is pretty late nowadays. I should be waking up earlier, but I got up at 7. The girls have to go. Ellie's got to go to daycare. Sam's got to go to camp. I got to take them. I got to get them ready. Obviously Stephanie's helping. And, I woke up at 7. I got everything. I went to Dunkin' Donuts to get coffee like I always do. This is actually round 2 right here. That's round 2. I got to Dunkin', and I'm leaving Dunkin', and mind you, it's raining outside. And when I left in the morning, it was overcast but drizzling, not too bad. And then now it was outright raining, and I'm driving home, and I pass a couple running on the sidewalk, and they're running, and he's pushing a tandem stroller. I'm guessing twins, 2 kids in there. It's raining. He's running with his wife, and I'm thinking, my God, I make excuses. I use like my 6-month-old or 7-month-old as an excuse not to do a workout. My 10-year-old, I use her as an excuse not to go down and do a workout when she's plenty old enough to do it. So, I can't leave her in my house, but I'm in the lap of luxury here. I got a treadmill and a bike trainer down in my basement. What else do I need? And I have a squat rack and an elliptical. What else do I need? And I make excuses for like putting workouts off. And really that's all mental. That's all mental. And I think another thing that brought that to light for me was the podcast I did with Sheila Treleaven, which by the way is getting excellent reviews. People have been contacting me about that one. A pro triathlete dealing with 3 kids, a full-time job, being able to find the time to do it. Great personality. She started triathlon at the age of 40 and she turned pro, and, and she's down to earth, and she faces a lot of the same challenges that, everybody else faces. It's not like, she's a pro triathlete and she's dealing with only things no, she deals with, what we deal with all the time. And yet she finds the time and she does it. And here I am, and I almost feel like in the background I should have like an excuses barometer. Like today's podcast has an excuse level of, so today probably like a 6. Yesterday maybe like an 8. I don't know. But the one thing I talked about months ago, and I have this way of doing this by the way, is so months ago I talked about the concept of fighting for your routine, right? Which was, you got to make it happen. If you really have the desire to accomplish certain goals, you're the one that has to make it happen. Now, I think I did really well when it came to that in January, February, March, waking up at 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, getting the podcast done, doing a workout, doing a yoga, doing a strength training, probably doing 2 workouts a day, improving my bike, which I've done immensely. I felt really good about those days. The excuse level was 1 to 2. And I don't know what happened between then and now, but I have stopped fighting for that routine. I don't set the alarm. I roll out of bed at 7 when my daughter starts waking up. On the monitor, I can see her. She wakes up great, by the way. This is what she does. She wakes up. She kind of just looks around for like 15 minutes. She's looking around, eyes open. I can see the eyes. She's sucking on their binky, and she's looking around. And then after that time frame, she goes into like the little chit chat. She goes, "Dad, dad, 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 dad." That's all she says, "Dad, dad," for like 2 months. It's driving Stephanie crazy, by the way. And then if you don't get her by the next 15 minutes, then she starts to crying. So the key is to get her in that chit chatty moment before she starts crying, which we've done pretty well at. So I just let her wake me up this morning. Got the kids ready for school, camp, whatever, daycare. Drove Ellie to daycare, drove Sam to her camp, came home. Stephanie had gone for a run with her friend Aura came over for a little bit. We chit-chatted. Then they just went off for lunch, and I'm sitting here. It's 11:30 and I haven't done the podcast. Now, where is the fighting for the routine in that? Where is the alarm going off at 5 a.m. to get me out of bed, get me outside running when the humidity isn't a killer yet? I mean, the humidity is probably still bad, but the temperature at least is in the 70s and not the 80s or 90s. I think next week is even worse. So where was that fight? I don't have it. Where's that fight last night when I got home and had time to work out? And instead, I made dinner, and then we kind of watched a movie, and then I did like 40 minutes on the bike. Which actually, I don't think that's exactly what happened, but something like that. So I ended up doing 40 minutes on the bike when I should be doing more than that, which is annoying. Another issue I have, and I haven't brought this up, but I'm going to bring it up now, is my quads have just been screaming at me lately. And I think what happened was 3 nights ago, I did a bike ride, and I did it indoors. And Zwift has these things. They have these, I don't even know what they call them, these segments, I guess, of the course. So it'll be like there could be sprint segments, they could be longer, multi-mile segments, and they will keep track of how long it took you to get from point A to point B in the segment. And it'll compare. It'll tell you, like, the last time you did this, you did it in 47 seconds. So you try to beat that. And it's kind of like one of these things that you just kind of try to beat yourself. That sounds awful. You know what I mean? Get your mind out of the gutter. Anyway, I got to one of those segments and it started and I decided I was going to go for it. So I really pressed hard and I'm like, probably held about really close to 500 watts, which is pretty hard for me for 42 seconds or something, whatever it took me to finish the segment. At the time, it felt great. It felt good. I felt like I needed like a nice strong interval, got that done. I pushed really hard. I was breathing heavy. I finished my ride, no issues. Now, 2 nights ago, I went and I did a 4+ mile run. And nothing was sore. I mean, my left quad was kind of saying like, hey man, something's up here. Little annoying, little pain, but not even pain, tightness. Let's call it soreness, tightness, whatever you want to call it. And then yesterday, before I got on the bike, I noticed like my thighs were like, they're both legitimately sore. Like they're tight. It's annoying and frustrating. So that's why I did the bike and I let the quads engage and I didn't press really hard like I did the night before. And I felt like it was a decent bike, 40, 45 minutes, something like that. And so nothing great. But, again, I didn't want, it sounds like an excuse again. Here we go. Excuse level, we'll go up to 7. But the quads were just screaming at me. So I stopped. I rolled them out a little bit. Rolled them out again this morning. They're sore. And I think it's all because of that stupid one little interval that I did 3 nights ago. And, yeah, I mean, maybe and that is probably a sign of being lazy this last week or so. Which, I mean, lazy, it is what it is, right? I don't want to push this up to 8 on the excuse level, so we won't give any. But yeah, the fact of the matter is I haven't really been fighting for that routine very hard. And that goes right here, right in your, that's your heart. That's how much heart do you have? How much will and desire do you have to get it done? And I don't know why I kind of fell off the boat a little bit the last few weeks, but I did. And this, this last month or so was supposed to be a real, like a lifting off point, like a really difficult training phase where I was getting ready for the Ironman. And instead it's been a half iron sandwiched around a few lackadaisical weeks, which I'm not very thrilled about. And it's my fault. And, talking to Sheila about how she does it and then seeing that couple out there running today in the rain with their kids, it's like that really kind of drove a stake through my heart. Like, man, you got to find a way. And there is a way. There's always a way. But I didn't find it. And now I'm kind of like in trouble a little bit. No, I'm not in trouble. I still think I'm in decent enough shape that I could do it. I'm not happy about how I finished up Ironman training. So I do have this last weekend. Let's talk about that now. So training for the weekend. Long run, long bike. That's what it's going to be. I thought about doing a brick. I think it might be, if I did a long brick, I think it might be too much. I know, typically you want to, if you're doing a marathon, you want to get that 20-mile run in. That ain't going to happen. I'm a little too close. And even I spoke to Laura Stebbins a little bit, triathlon coach Laura Stebbins from Ascension Multisport. And I said, last time I did Ironman, I did a century, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the race. A century being a 100-mile ride, and that gives you confidence. You ride 100 miles, and then you're like, yeah, I could just got to do 12 more. Got that. Mind you, my ride is flat and doesn't have any hills like Lake Placid, but it does give you confidence. So now, really, the longest ride I've done so far this training cycle, I did 65 miles 3 times. And I did Ironman Mont Tremblant once, 56 miles. I've done I do have like a 44 to 45 mile ride that I've done probably 3 or 4 times. So I've done a lot in that middle range, but that high end range I haven't touched. 65 plus, I haven't really touched. So that's all going to be like new frontier again for me on race day, which kind of sucks. But at this point, with 2 weeks to go, I don't think I do a century. I think it's too close. And and talking to Laura, I think she agreed with me. Too close. In fact, I think she more emphatically agreed with me because I think I was thinking about doing it. And after hearing her reaction, I was like, yeah, all right, maybe I shouldn't do it. Because really, a century ride in and of itself is an endurance event. And to do that 2 weeks before, I feel like I'm just now recovering from Mont Tremblant. And that was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So to then, try to do a century ride now, that could put me out. It could do some damage. So we're going to scale it back and we're going to do the 65-mile ride again this week. The one I've been doing, the one I feel safe doing and comfortable doing. So to take a step back here. So Saturday is going to be a long run. Long run, I'm thinking between 12 and 15 miles. I don't really feel like going beyond 15 miles. Now, rule of thumb, and I got this from Nick at Ascension Multisport, rule of thumb was do not run more miles than you have days remaining to the race. So if I have 15 days remaining to the race from Saturday, I shouldn't run more than 15 miles. I think that's a good rule of thumb. I actually like that a lot. So I think, I'll probably plan a 15-mile route, but I don't mind pulling the plug at 12. I'm not going to feel bad if I pull the plug at 12. It's humid, it's hot, and yeah, it could be that on race day. But I don't need to, risk injury or risk any kind of negative impact on a run on my last training. I'm not really going to gain much from this run other than keep my body used to moving for a few hours. So that's it. That's tomorrow. And I'm excited about that, and I think I'm going to try to get out early again to avoid the humidity as much or the heat. The humidity might actually still be there in the morning, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's tomorrow's plan. Sunday is the 65-mile bike. Now, interestingly enough, my friend Joe Caniano, who I haven't seen in I don't even know how many years. It's been a long time, a real long time. But but he's doing the Lake Placid half iron in August, and he might be coming up to do this practice ride with me, which would be great for him. For him to book a 65-mile training ride, a month in advance, a month and a half in advance of his race, when his race is only 56 miles, even though that's 56 challenging miles of hills, that'll be a good ride for him. So he potentially could be coming up on Sunday, meeting me, and then going for a 65-mile bike ride. That's a long, actually, I think his drive is like 2.5 hours to get here. That's a long drive, followed by a long bike, followed by a long drive. But we're going to have to stop and get some beers, I think, after this one. We're going to be exhausted. And, I'm excited about that ride. If he comes up, that would be great. That would be great. It would give me kind of like that extra little bit of kick to make sure that I finish the ride. Although I think I'm kind of in the mode right now where there's no way I wouldn't finish it. I feel really good about my bike and my capabilities there. The quads still a little sore, but hopefully they'll be fine. And this is it, man. This is it. I got to be able to do a 65-mile ride. Now this will be the 4th time I do this ride. I should have this ride in the bank easy. Like, I should finish 65 miles on this course, and feel good about myself. And I'm pretty positive that's what's going to happen. I'm pretty optimistic about this training weekend. We'll see how it goes actually come tomorrow, I guess. That's when it starts. As for today, now with the tight quads and all that stuff going on, I don't need to kill myself today. I think what we're going to do upper body strength training, because we've been talking about that. You can't wait more than 3 or 4 days. Consistency, that's the key. So upper body strength training, which I'm going to do this afternoon, and then I'm going to go for a swim because I haven't been swimming all week. I got to get back in the pool, and the pool would be, low impact on the quads, and I think I need another day of rest on those anyway. So that's what I'm planning. That's what I'm feeling for today and tomorrow and the next day. And then we're going to just kind of look, tapering is not nothing, right? It's not sit on the couch and do nothing, because then I'll wind up eating and drinking, getting fat. It is monitoring diet. It is bringing intensity levels way low. So no stupid, 40-second bursts of energy, for me. It's keeping that wattage very low. It's toning down your long runs, your long rides. And look, maybe next week I could do like a 6, 7, 8 miles run, something like that. But it's no more 15 miles, that's for sure. After Saturday, so that's where we are, folks. Things are winding down here, and it's getting really close. I got to tell you, so confidence level. Where are we? Confidence level. Let me see. So going into Ironman 2 years ago, I would say my confidence level of was I going to finish was probably about 80%. I felt good about it. I felt like I was in the best shape of my life. And there was just the fear of the unknown, which gave me that 20% of doubt, right? So last year I went there out of shape and fat and, plus 40 pounds. Look, don't listen to me and say, oh, you said the F word. Come on. No. I was 200 pounds 2 years ago when I finished, and I was 240 a year later when I didn't. So there's something to be said for that. Performance reasons why. Let's not get into aesthetics. Let's not be angry at me for saying the F word. What kind of age do we live in these days? Anyway, that I have to apologize for saying the word fat. Last year I was fat, and I tried to do the Ironman, and I DNF'd. And that was the problem. The problem was I did not work hard, and I wasn't in good shape. When I hit that starting line, God's honest truth, I probably thought I had a 50% shot at finishing. I thought that I was being too negative. That was my mentality going into the starting line was, you're going to finish this. You just don't have the confidence that you're going to finish it. But you're going to finish it. That was kind of my thought. Like, I thought I was being too hard on myself, but it was 50-50. It was 50-50. I think when I talk about it sometimes after the fact, I kind of make it sound like, yeah, I knew I wasn't going to finish, but I kind of thought there, and maybe I definitely was pessimistic overall, but in my gut, I kind of felt 50-50 shot of finishing. Didn't finish. This year, I think I'm back at 80%, maybe 85. And that really only reason it's better than 2 years ago is because I've had the experience, and I know that when I get off the bike, that's really the key points are the turnaround on the bike to get to that second loop, and then when I get off the bike after that second loop. That's when I get off the bike on that second loop, I will know whether or not I'm going to finish Ironman. I will know because I'll know how much time I have left. I'll know what needs to be done, and I'll know how my body feels and whether or not I'm capable of doing that. So, and that's kind of one of the things about Ironman that's interesting is if you're just doing it to finish, and you can kind of foresee where you're gonna do, how you're gonna do, and how you're gonna finish, and you know what time you're gonna finish, and whether or not, like, you might know that, hey, I'm gonna finish with 4 or 5 hours to go, 6 hours to go. You know you're gonna finish. You just got to go through that agony of actually doing it. So that's kind of the plan for race day. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully you get a good weekend of training in. Hopefully you guys have made your training plans too. And hopefully you get it done. Fight for that routine. Fight for getting yourself out there and doing it. Sometimes it's a lot easier to sit on the couch and watch TV, or a lot easier to make an excuse for yourself. It's raining. I'll do it a little bit later, and then you push it off too far and you can't do it. And I'm just giving you the examples that have happened to me. So, focus on that. Fight for yourself, man. It's all about determination, dedication to yourself. If you want to accomplish these things, you need to carve out the time to work at it. And that's what that's what I'm doing this weekend. Hopefully you guys get it done too. Now, one last thing I wanted to mention, next week we're going to have Ben Hinton on the podcast. We're going to have him back. We've had him on a couple times. He's been training for a potential spot on the Olympic team in the half marathon. So we're going to get a good little update on how he's feeling. I think he's going into his qualifying race, if I'm not mistaken, in a couple weeks. I think it's the week. So really like next week, I think is his qualifying race that he needs to beat a certain time. We'll get all the scoop from him on his an update from him, how he's feeling, whether or not he's like thinking that he could actually reach this goal. Is it in the realm of possibility that Ben Hinton is going to the Olympic trials? I don't know. We're going to find out next week. So with that, guys, get a good weekend in. Remember, every day is an ordinary day. It takes you to make it extraordinary. So get after it.
Remember to like our video and subscribe to our channel.